It's been a while, but I'm making another video, guys, and I promised kinda on Discord that I would do a tutorial on my item placement system. So yeah, this tutorial will be for placing items on a map, like in a lot of games, no matter if it's like a farming sim, Animal Crossing or something like that. You can use it for many things. As you can see, the items have outlines. I can't place them on top of each other. And you are able to decorate your place. And you can even change the height of some items if they are able to be placed on top of other items. So yeah, that's what this little event system does. And you can also whack away and destroy stuff. Yeah. Should we just jump right into the actual events? So a little disclaimer for the event system. It is nothing for beginners. It's for people that actually know how to use events. And I'm not talking about those events here, like you will have a hard time to follow the event or understanding what the events are doing. I mean, the thing is, you can copy my events one for one, but if you want to add stuff or customize it a little bit, you will struggle. So keep that in mind. And let's jump right into my events. So you see I made a neat little folder for my placement system. So let's just jump right into it. I have a button assignment event. It's fairly basic. So what's important is which buttons I assign. So this is the preparation to make the system work. So besides assigning buttons, I have a sneaky little placement elevation event, just a little information I'm getting as well, besides the button assignments. What we have here is a decide. I have the directional keys assigned. Those are all advanced variable box operations. You can assign keys. And yeah, you will see why this is important later. I have the escape button, the shift button. I have action 4 and action 5 for the elevation of items. And action 6 and 7 are the rotation. Yeah. So that's basic button assignment stuff. Pretty simple. The next event is a collision check event. Don't mind that there's tree here. It doesn't matter anything. The carpet is another story, but tree doesn't matter. You just don't mind it. So what this event does, first of all, it has a condition. Placement has to be active. So you have to be in the placement mode for this event to work, basically. So what we are doing here, we're checking if the player is in collision with an object or an event. What are we doing? So what you're gonna need is the outline manager plugin from Jagonz to make this work, because you want to change the outline colors and enable and disable the outlines at any time. So you need the plugin the instructions on how to install the plugin are on Jagonz on itch. I will link it so you can see how to place it. You have to assign it here, the outline manager, and then you can call the actual C# scripts or the methods from the script. So we use an outline if it's in collision. I set the thickness of the outline. You can change this to a value that fits your needs. And then this one is for color, so you need those kind of codes. For the color, there are websites where you can easily find what color is which code. Yeah, so this will turn red. This is obviously red. Yeah, so you have to set the string and then execute, basically tell the plugin to manifest that color on your model. Yeah, good. So this will go on the player. The player will be a piece of furniture by now. You will see why. But yeah, this will work for every furniture. Same goes if you're in collision with an event, and if you're not in collision with anyone, any of those two, it's still the same, but the color changes to green. So this just changes the visual representation of your collision, if it makes sense for you. And this is the only like different kind of furniture, because you can, this is for a rug, so you can place the rug under existing furniture. So yeah, I made it so under events, which means basically furniture, other furniture, you can no, this is actually not the term like changing if you can place stuff. It's just the visual representation. Yeah, so it will be green if you're in contact with an event or with nothing, but it will be red if you're collision with the, if you're in collision with an object like doors or stuff like that. Okay, so this is just the visual stuff. And then the next event I will skip. I will go back to it. It's the demolish setup, but I will go into one of the item events. Those events called if you, for example, choose the chair from the placement inventory. So this has no trigger because you set your item up to call it. What happens is you change into your placement mode, basically. So there's a lot of stuff happening. First of all, I turn the screen dark. I turn this switch off. This is the switch that by turning off, it activates the custom movement, which we will cover in a minute. I disable the menu, I disable player operated moves, and I disable jumps. Then I teleport my player to a place like in the middle of the room, more or less, not really in the middle, but it's not important. Like it's just so, it's just an area where you start the placement. I have a placement camera set up, so you don't need that, but you can do this. This is the place where you drop it. The footstep sound needs to be set to 0. because you don't want your furniture to have footstep sounds most of the time, at least. Then I'm also changing the speed to 3 because I want the furniture to move snappy. And then I'm changing the player graphic to a chair. You become the chair. You also face up, so it's just a little, so like starting placing stuff needs to be consistent in my opinion. So you also always face up when you start. I'm turning also this switch on, which is just for telling the engine that I'm placing a chair right now. Yeah, then I'm turning on the screen, wait for a little while, and yeah, I'm turning on placement active, which is the switch for the actual placement system. So if this is on, you're in placement system, placement mode. I know it's hard to concentrate, like it's quite a lot, but a system like this needs some work. So it won't do itself, basically. So this is the demolish event. It's very similar to the item events. It's called by using the demolish option from your menu. So it's basically the same, like even the teleport is the same. And yeah, your player changes into a hammer. Yeah, that's what happens. I mean, it really is the same. The rest of the demolish setup happens inside of the events, like inside of the cast events, which we will talk about after the common events. So yeah, be patient. Okay, so now we are almost done with the events. We are now at the actual placement event. So if you place an item, this happens. So we have a condition that checks if the decide variable is greater than 1. This is from a button assignment. This is why I made the decide button like an extra advanced variable box button assignment thing. So if you press the decide button, and let's go to the chair so it's more consistent, and chair placement is on, this is why we need this switch, this happens. So it checks for events and objects again, like the collision event. For the outlines, it does basically the same, but the exception is this actually does something. So if you're not in collision with an object or an event, a sound will play and the chair will be generated on the map. So the placement happens. Also, one of your chair items will be removed, which makes sense. This switch is turned on now. If you remember, this one is, if it's turned off, you can use the custom movement system. This turns it on, so you can't basically move anymore. Then it waits. This is basically so the engine has time to do stuff from all the events, so the placement is not sketchy. Then yeah, the chair placement will be turned off again because we are done with the chair placement. And the layout for your placement inventory will be called. So every time you place an item, the inventory will pop up again and you can choose another item to place again. I think this is a neat setup. So they are all the same except the old rug again, because you can place it anywhere, basically. Good. Yeah. So those are all the same. They do all the same. The exception is which item will be generated. Good. Now on to the last event. The movement, the custom movement. It's very straightforward. So I'm checking if placement mode is active. I'm checking if this is again a button press, which I set up in the button assign event. So I'm checking if it's greater than 0. So if you're having an input, this happens basically. And I'm checking if I'm able to move. So this one has to be off for me to be able to move. So what happens here? I'm just walking up half a grid, nothing more, nothing less, only once in parallel. And yeah, I have it set up for every direction. Those are all the same. It's just another button and another direction. So I know it looks like a lot, but it's really not a lot. So those are for fine tuning. If you press Shift and basically do the same as here, but if this is the addition, if Shift is pressed and you walk, you're not walking half a grid, you're walking basically just 0.1 of a grid. So you can choose between like a more, yeah, you have basically two placement modes. I mean, yeah, it is what it is, which is pretty handy in my opinion, because having two small grids by default makes it very slow to place stuff. But if you make your grid too big, you can't really decorate like you want. You don't have the, like, you can't really place stuff next to each other precisely. So this is a hybrid of both. Good. Next movement is elevation. So Y plus and Y minus. What is happening? Placement needs to be on. Then the button for Y minus needs to be pressed. And the placement elevation. This is the sneaky variable that I put into the button assign, on top of the button assign event, if you remember. So I needed to check the player elevation. So those two elevations don't go into infinity. So you need to be below 2 in order to move upwards. And you need to be over 0 elevation in order to move down. So you can't go into the ground, for example, and you can't go into the sky. The next addition is this switch. You can't move every placeable item up and down. I mean, you could, but I think it's unnecessary. Because you have stuff like a bed you don't really want to place in the sky, for example. So when I'm placing something small like a candle, I turn this on, the switch, so I can actually use those buttons. They do something. Next one is the rotation of an item. They are called, I'm using 90 here because the original rotation value was 90. But what happens is you have a 45-degree rotation in both directions, depending on which button you press. So those again are the buttons for the rotation. Placement needs to be active. It's the same stuff as before. So very simple movement setup. Then the last event. This is what happens if you press escape, if you want to stop the placement mode. Essentially. So placement needs to be active and the escape key needs to be pressed. So what happens? It is a reversal of the stuff you did when entering the placement mode. So you can use the menu again. You can jump again. This disable movement will be turned off. Doesn't matter really. Change screen color, so it will fade to black again because you're going back to another position. You can walk again. You change back from furniture to a human-like thing. Your footstep volume will be turned on again. Your movement speed needs to be reversed. And then I think I could make this a little more efficient, but right now I'm turning just off every placeable item switch. So yeah, I guess I can make this more efficient, but for now it's like this. It's not very demanding like this, so it's not that bad. So yeah, this is just a reset of the system basically. So it will work properly if you start it again. Also, demolish will be turned off. You will be teleported into the entry basically of the room. I highly advise to teleport into, like, I have a non-building area basically in front of the entrance where you can't place items, so you can't block the entrance. And I'm also teleporting back here so you don't teleport inside of items and get trapped maybe. So that's my thought process here. I'm reversing the camera to just the default camera, and the screen will be bright once again so you can see. And I'm enable jumping. I think I did it twice, but well. Okay, so those are the events. I know it's a lot. Try to, you can see it in the video. You can just rebuild them. Try to understand what they do, because you need to only work with those two really if you add new items to the system. But try to understand them in case you want to change something. So let's go into the database now. We have items of each placeable object. For example, the chair. And this is how it's set up. It's important to set it up like this. What's special here? It's not consumable. So yeah. What is happening here? This is important. You need to add advanced settings. Well, normally it shows here call a common event, which is happening here, and my chair event is called when I use the item. So it's the one that gets you into placement mode and turns you into a chair, if you remember. Yeah, and that's about it. Also, I have a placement, a hashtag placement. This is a management tag. You will see why you need this when I show you the layout tool setup for this. It's pretty simple, but I show you anyway. So yeah, you need an item for all of those. Next thing, you need a cast for every, like this is what you generate, what you see on the map. Let's go to the chair and have a look what happens inside of it. So there is just this blank state, I would say. Nothing is happening here. Always, like when you watch the video and try to recreate it, look at those states, the collision states, because this is when you placed it basically in the world and you're playing normally. You collide with it. Yeah, because the next one looks very similar. The difference is when placement is active, it doesn't collide with the player. Because when you're placing stuff, you don't want to really, like, you can walk over other events. Like you want to. So yeah. This is why the collision with the player is turned off here. Anything else? Let me look. No, that's the difference. Then the next state is the demolish state. So when demolish is on and it is in collision with the player, it will turn red. Well, I can show you what I did here. You basically copy and paste your object and change the material to red. In order to do that, you just copy and paste the material, remove the texture. You can, I think what I did here is I used the glass shader and change the color to red or something like that. We can take a look on it when we are done here. So yeah, this is when you are in collision with the hammer for demolishing stuff. And no collisions here. Yeah, it's important to tick the including non-collision targets because you don't have collision. So now we have two passive why those are parallel events. Sorry. Yeah, those are passive. Yeah, those are here, this ones. I don't know why I struggle to say this. Those are parallel events. Yeah. Okay, what is happening here? It's the demolishing, the actual demolishing going on. So when you're in collision with the event, so when you're at this state here, and you're also pressing decide, you get back your chair item. You have a sound effect. The event will be deleted. And I have a switch here turned on, which will be turned off again. No. Wait a minute. This will be turned on. So this event, because it's running in parallel, I can't choose only once. So I have to do this sketchy method. So here's a switch. I turn it on. This event only happens once. Basically, yeah. I think it would work without it, but I don't want to try it right now, because if I delete the event is gone and this shouldn't happen anymore. Well, let's continue. The next passive event is when generating the event. So when you're placing the item down on the ground, you need to do stuff in order to make especially the rotation show up correctly. So yes, you assign the rotation of your player to a variable. Then you're facing your this event that you just generated, the chair, in the direction of the variable you just made for the orientation. Wait a minute. What have I done? Oh boy. And also, I have this one here. I think one of those isn't working properly, I think, and that's why I have both. They sound very similar. Yeah, but it works like this, so you can just use both. Then I'm waiting a second, and the waits are always so the event, like the engine can catch up with stuff. I like to use those even if it works correctly without them. Just, I don't know, it makes it feel a little more, I don't know, it just do it. Then I'm turning off the outline. That's important. Of the generated event. That's why you will need the outline manager script again in your cast for the furniture. So yeah, that's the setup for the placeable objects. And this is where also the script from the new script from Jagonz comes into play, where you can save generated events even though you are leaving the map. Like you need to make a tag which I which I don't remember anymore, but you can watch his videos. It's very fast and very to the point. I mean, he has a tutorial on how to use his plugin. Yeah, it's very cool. Like normally if you generate an item and you leave the map, the generated item is gone if you re-enter the map. So yeah, it's very powerful plugin. You should check it out. I will put a link in the description for the outline manager and the I don't know how it's called, like remember generated events plugin. Like it costs money, but trust me, it's worth it. If you're working with Bakin, if you like Bakin and you really want to make something like this, I highly recommend checking out his plugins in general. Okay, so that's the work we need to do in the database. I hope you're still with me on this one. I know it's a lot, but yeah. So let's have a look at the layout tool. So it's very simple what you need to do. You just need to copy the default one, paste it, and for the placement menu you need to change the management tag for items to be displayed. That's a really cool feature because you can make different inventories for different item types basically. And if you use a tag in one of your items, the tag will appear in this drop-down menu, which appears when you click on it. So I have placement here. Yeah, it's already set up like this. And you also want to make another item inventory for your regular items without the furniture. Like, you don't need to, but I think it's neat. And you can exclude a defined tag. And it's the same, basically, just with a minus in front of it, which is very cool, and it works very well. Then you have your main menu, and you need link stuff. So for the demolish, wait a sec, where's my demolish? Honestly, oh, I did not change. That's kind of dumb. Yeah, it's called map because I just used the map one. I don't need the map one. Yeah. So yeah, for the demolish, it's just a close and call common event, and it's the demolish common event. So it calls the common event that I showed you earlier. And for the placement, is it this? Yeah, the picture book is the placement. I'm so lazy. What does it do? It shows the item, the placement inventory, basically. So pretty easy in terms of layout tool. Now let's have a look at the resource. I think most of you know how to do that, but I will show you. Oh god, I have such a mess here. Oh god, where are my items? Wait a minute. Chair. Oh yeah, that's great. So you need to copy and paste just your model. Here is copy, there is paste. Then you need to go into material. Let's just go with this door. I show you how to make the red one. Add with another ID. Now you have this one. And you go to glass. Turn it bright red. Ta-da! Then you go back to your model. And it's always, yeah. Okay, then you go to material, click on it, choose the new one, and you see you have the exact thing here. Which I won't do, because I already have it. Yeah. So what I like here is I found making a box collider for your placeable objects works best. So those have normally a mesh collider, but I had issues with collision basically. So I like to use box collider on those furniture type of things. Make sure they fit properly. I'm seeing I have a little, yeah, maybe it needs a little fine tuning, but it works pretty well as is. And yeah, I think I covered everything. I know it's a lot, but yeah, it's still a pretty cool system and you can do a lot with it. So, yeah, that's the video. Don't forget to check out the plugins from Jagonz, which you need in order to make this work properly. Yeah, and maybe I won't take so long to make my next video. Have a nice day. Bye.